What's up, everybody, and welcome to a Friday playoff edition of Morning Cup of Hockey presented by Bet365. That's Colby Cohen. I'm Johnny Lazarus, and it's just us two today to talk about all the games last night, to talk about what to look ahead to over the weekend, and maybe even some breaking news as the Rangers just announced that Mike Sullivan is the official 38th head coach in franchise history. We won't dive into that too much. We can talk about it and comment on it, but we'll probably
I have some opinions.
Yeah,
So,
okay.
yeah.
Colby Cohen has an opinion. Let's go to you.
You're like we literally the New York Rangers, an original 6 team, within the last 90 seconds just announced their new head coach. I
could spend an hour on this. So
I get it, and we're not going to spend an hour on it. But I mean, how do you not talk about it? Like, everybody watched the games last night, and we'll get into the games and we'll talk about the playoffs. But when an original 6 team makes a coaching hire, and the dominoes that will hopefully or maybe fall in and around it, like, is Tortorella coming back with him? Like, what does this mean as far as, the future of the direction and the New York Rangers? What does it mean for the Bruins, who didn't get Mike Sullivan? Does that put Rick Tocchet in play now with Boston if it's not going to be Philly? We saw Pat Ferschweiler, the news yesterday that he was interviewed in Philadelphia. So, like, I don't know. Like, I think that I think it's worth talking about. I know you don't want to spend an hour talking about it, and we won't. But I could say this to you, Neil. I don't think Sullivan was going to go and work for the Jacobs family. I don't know how good that relationship is. So I don't know if that was the most appealing thing to him to be there and to be back in Boston. So, are you happy with the hiring? Is this the guy you wanted?
I mean, listen, I think I said it when we talked about it last time. To me right now, it doesn't matter. I think Chris Drury, after he was extended, has to figure out a way to make this roster better. I think you can get the best coach in the world, but with how this team looks right now and what their blue line looks like, I don't think they're winning a Stanley Cup. So, while Mike Sullivan is clearly the best guy available right now and probably is a good voice to point this team in the right direction, there still is a lot of work that needs to be done to this roster for me to believe that they're going to be a Stanley Cup champion. So, like, that's just Mike Sullivan as a coach. Like, I'm pumped. I can't wait to talk to him after games. Obviously, I have a relationship with Charlie, so maybe that'll give me an edge in my questioning and talking to him. Maybe he'll show respect for me, or
I don't know, man.
Maybe
Sully has a look. Sully can shoot you a look like the best of them.
It might be a disadvantage, but like, if I'm going to sit here and say, "Oh yeah, we hired Mike Sullivan, we're winning the cup," like I'd be foolish to say that because I don't believe it right now with the way the roster looks. So
that's a fair way to look at it. But you do just get. First of all, Frank made a comment on here the other day that him and Laviolette aren't that much different. They couldn't be more different, in my opinion. Like, I would say that's not a statement that I would subscribe to. Mike Sullivan is a details coach. Mike Sullivan is a motivator. Mike Sullivan is a structure guy. Like, there's almost no boxes that Mike Sullivan doesn't check.
Yeah.
He has a good pulse on sort of the new age athlete because of who his son-in-law is. Look, this hire made the most sense. I would love to see John Tortorella as his assistant coach. And the reason for that being is I think it might be refreshing for John Tortorella to be able to go and be a coach and basically be a teacher and teach and work with guys and defensemen and not have to be the CEO, not have to be the culture setter, not have to deal with management. Like, it might actually be a refreshing year for John Tortorella to not have to be a head coach.
Yeah.
I honestly, like, I actually believe that he may thrive in that situation because, again, I'd say 75% of the players that have played for him and worked for him and people who have worked for him really like Torts. There's always going to be 25 or 30% of guys with any coach that don't like him. So, because look, Torts knows hockey. He knows details. Like, I think that would actually be, again, it would be a great move to bring Torts along as an assistant coach. I don't think Torts is an egomaniac. So I think he could be an assistant after whatever it's been, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years as a head coach.
Yeah, well, he also just did it with Sullivan at Four Nations. Like, I know that's like a mini tournament, but like,
no, but I
they were opposite. 10 years ago, Sully was Torch's assistant in New York.
Right.
Like that,
Well, and Vancouver and put together in a bunch of places. So I don't know.
You want to hear Johnny's brain?
Go ahead, Johnny. Give us your brain.
Okay, ready? So who did Mike Sullivan coach for the past 10 years? That's a #1 overall draft pick out of Rimouski.
Oh my God. We're already doing a crispy ninja hot take because this is about to be one of the dumber.
It could be.
One of the here's the other thing I wanted to talk about before we start talking about the playoffs tonight. Just a few minutes before our show started, we got to spend a little time with Johnny's dad today, and he let us in on a couple of secrets that will surprise none of you. And the best one being that Johnny was not even carrying his own hockey bag until he was what? You said 14?
Probably 8th grade. So
he wasn't carrying his own bag. Apparently, he could never remember all of his gear. The amount of times it sounds like that Johnny's dad, Mr. Lazarus, had to drive back to the house to pick up an errant piece of equipment once he started letting Johnny pack his own bag. It sounds like that was kind of a regular
he never trusted me
in the Lazarus house. So,
well, you know the story how I forgot my skates at home for a USHL tryout.
Listen, all of the time on our show, you've basically been blaming your dad for everything. And then we actually get an opportunity to talk to him for a few minutes and we get a very different story. And so it's good. It's good. Yes. I saw that comment too and laughed at it.
Which
it is
comment?
Oh, well, there's a lot of good ones, but it is good to get the other side of the story for once, because I do feel like
Jeremiah with a dagger.
You're always so quick to throw your poor dad under the bus. And like, honestly, where would any of us be in the world without our parents? I mean, honestly, where would any of us be? I mean, I think being a parent is the most important thing you do. In
this is like an unbelievable way of twisting words, and so, credit to you, honestly. Yeah, credit to you.
I mean, listen, I'm a wordsmith when it comes to this stuff, but I'm just so thankful your dad was able to come on and share some of these stories with us. And maybe this summer we'll do like a bonus episode with your dad and my dad. That would be kind of funny.
Read Jim the Swede's comment.
So Jim the Swede says, is that why Johnny played so few NCAA games? His dad wasn't there to help him pack his gear. Listen, had he listened to his dad, he would have been on time for his first ever practice, and then he wouldn't have started in the doghouse at UMass like he did.
I actually started off great.
It was late to his first ever practice. So
started here, ended here.
Johnny was in the wrong era. Johnny would have thrived if Johnny was an 18-year-old freshman in college hockey today. I think he probably would have thrived more in the NCAA. And I don't mean that sarcastically. I actually think you were a little ahead of your time.
I wasn't built tough.
Well, with your personality and with your how soft you are and all this stuff, like I think I think because you obviously were a skilled player. We've seen your highlights.
Yeah.
You put up good numbers in the North American League.
All right, can we just talk about like relevant stuff?
You were too far ahead of your time, Johnny. So I'm glad we got to start our day like that because it gave me some energy on this Friday. So all right, let's talk about the playoffs now. That's what you want to talk about.
I've been laughing nonstop. Well, I did have one more comment on Mike Sullivan though. Like,
okay, go for it.
So Mike Sullivan's been coaching the best player in the world for the past 10 years, and if there's one thing he can bring from that to here, like he's going to be shocked to see what the Rangers star players play like. With how it was last year. So I think, having him like say, listen, I just coached Sidney Crosby for 10 years. Like, you guys think you're fucking superstars. Like, you got to dial it the hell in because Sidney Crosby's out there every day trying to get better, actually working on his game. Colby, you and I talk about it all the time. There are guys who say they want to come to the rink and get better every day, but not everyone actually believes it.
So completely agree.
So I think Mike Sullivan might be that voice to like get, if Zibanejad's still here, like get him to buy in and work on his game and get better. Because listen, like Mika Zibanejad, I wasn't at the practices like 3 or 4 years ago, but I'm sure he was spending time after practice on the ice working on his one-timer. I didn't see that once this year. Not once. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. That's my last comment on that. But
okay,
let's get into some of the games from last night. But before we do, just a quick word from our sponsor, Proraso, the most complete choice for shaving and beard care made in Italy since 1948. Proraso has been a staple of Italian culture and barbershops globally for 4 generations. So get 15% off at Proraso-USA.com with our promo code Hockey15 in all caps, Hockey15. And Colby, when David Perron tied that game up last night, were you saying, here we go, strap in, we're going 7? Because I After David Perron scored, I was chuckling. I was laughing. I went right to our group chat to laugh at Vic. Vic said series over. But obviously Max Pacioretty scores one of the biggest goals he's probably ever scored, and gets the Leafs over the hump in game 6. What did you make of that whole game and those 2 goals?
Listen, when especially because it was a soft goal, because Stolarz was cheating so much and leaning in, trying to take that poke check away, and he said as much in his post-game presser. I really did go, oh no, like, is this really happening? Listen, first off, I do want to say this. I was 4 for 4 last night.
Well, I had Ottawa, so yeah.
Yeah, I was 4 for 4 on my picks last night. You were 3 for 4.
3 for 4. Yeah.
But I will say, like, when that goal went in, I was like, oh my God. I was like, they're screwed. This is gonna actually go 7. Like, I was like, I can't believe this. I texted Zach and I texted Vic right away, and I texted Carter Hutton because I wanted to hear from him, the technical side of that goal. Other than the fact that it was clearly soft. Listen, William Nylander answered the bell last night in a big game, and it wasn't necessarily just the offense, like a couple of huge back checks where he broke up plays, like, the hash marks are lower right around like prime scoring opportunities. I thought John Tavares really showed up in a big way last night. You got a power play goal from Austin Matthews, which, again, was Matthews great last night? I thought he played good defensive hockey for the most part, but he wasn't dominant.
Outside of the goal he scored, there wasn't a whole lot.
But again, I think with Austin Matthews, we always have to be careful because he does, like, half of his shifts start in the defensive zone in the series. Half of them. I might be off by a couple of percentage based on last night, but like, this guy starts with a lot of defensive zone draws. Like, they're entrusting him with their biggest defensive moments. I see in the chat, J-Rock's talking about the Scott Laughton block at the end of the game before Nylander gets the empty netter. Like, that's why you traded for Scott Laughton, not to score goals, to be out on the ice in the last minute of a hockey game and to be willing to eat a puck like that. So, here's some of the other things I think you got to look at. Mitch Marner had 7 points or 7 assists in the series. We've been pretty critical of him, and it's hard to be angry at a guy who just produced 7+ points in a playoff series. Now he will be judged on if he shows up against Florida or not, which I have my doubts. I do have my doubts. I don't think everybody who thinks the Leafs are just going to the Panthers are just going to walk all over the Leafs and end the series in 5 games, like I'm hearing a lot of people say. I don't agree with that, honestly. I think Toronto will push back more than that. But
do you think having Stolarz in net will play a much more significant role in Toronto's advantage to try to beat? I mean, Stolarz knows them as good as anybody, right? Spending all
but they know Stolarz pretty well too.
I guess that's actually a good point.
I think it plays better for Florida.
Yeah.
I think you have to get Woll into this series. I really do. Like, I think if Florida wins game 1, you got to get Jacob Woll into game 2. Like, I'm worried about riding this guy too hard. I really think, even if, let's say game 1 is 4 or 5-1 for Florida, get Woll in there for the second half of the game. I think that is going to be really important to use both their goaltenders, even though it just doesn't seem like that's Berube's style. I actually think it'll come into play. In that series.
I actually think too, though, I think it was Randy Workman that just said Stolarz will be highly motivated. I wasn't talking about motivation. I was talking about, Stolarz was in their locker room, knows their game plan, can tell you what those guys are thinking.
Does it matter if you know their game? Like, film.
That's what I was going to say.
You
can watch all the film you want on Florida. The way they play, no one has an answer to it because you can't play more physical than they do.
Yeah.
So,
but honestly, I don't think we're giving enough credit to the fact that Toronto's decor, while it doesn't have Hedman and McDonough, it's pretty deep. Like, they're deeper. Think about the third pair of Perbix
Yeah,
and was it
but
Lilberg or Lilgren? I'm always
Lilberg.
Like who's the weak spot on Toronto's back end?
Yeah, but do
Like,
they have good puck moving defensemen?
I mean, listen,
Because
McCabe
that's what
moves the
Tampa
puck,
lacked.
Carlo moves the puck, Riley moves the puck, Larson moves the puck. Like Tanev can make a first pass. Benoit, I thought, moved the puck pretty well in that series.
I don't know if I'd call those guys good puck moving defensemen, though.
I mean, they're not offensive guys, but they're who on that back end for Toronto can't make a first pass. You're not going to get a lot of offense from the group, but like who can't make a first pass? I think every one of their defensemen on the back end in Toronto can make a first pass. Like I'm looking at the decor right now. 1948 for Benoit, 1815 for Tanev, 2244 for McCabe, 2251 for Carlo, 1951 for Riley, and then Ekman Larson played 15 minutes. Like that's very sound minute managing.
I don't know. I was just saying, I don't know if I love Carlo and Tanev's like puck moving ability. I wouldn't say they're the best first pass.
I think both those guys can make a first pass. You don't think those guys are first pass defensemen?
No, I think they make a fine first pass. I wouldn't look at them and say, oh, those are good first pass defensemen. I'd say those are more physical, shutdown, get in your lane type defensemen than like I would if I'm going D to D, expecting them to make a good tape to tape pass. I don't know if I'd say that about them. I don't think that's like their game.
I mean, listen, Johnny, I have a hard time finding more than a dozen defensemen in the National Hockey League that aren't first pass defensemen at this stage of hockey. I mean,
that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying they can, but I wouldn't say that's like a strength of their game.
I mean, listen, I think that
85% of defensemen in the NHL are making a tape-to-tape pass.
That's my point is you really don't see guys who aren't first pass defensemen anymore. Yes, Tanev is known more for being a shutdown guy and a greasy guy, but again, like Carlo can make a smooth first pass. He's not rimming the puck around the wall. He's not a glass and out type of player. Listen, all I'm saying here is that I don't see a pathway to a win for Toronto. Like I think Florida's clearly the best team in the East. Like I don't see a path for anybody to beat Florida. But I'm just saying I think that there's more depth on the back end for Toronto than there was
ever before.
There was in Tampa Bay. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
I'm not saying I think Toronto's going to win. I'm not saying like I think Florida wins the series in 6 games. Like I'll put it out there right now. I think it's 4-2 Florida in 6 games. But again, I think that it's going to be a little bit more challenging to go get, inside ice against that group of defensemen than it is against, the
1,000%. I agree.
3-4, after Hedman, Chernak, and McDonough, I think, Radish, Lilberg, and Perbix, like, I don't think Radish, Lilberg, or Perbix can crack the top 6 at Toronto.
I agree.
So I see people, Colby's glazing the Leafs, blah, blah, blah.
No.
This is reality. Like, which of those 3 defensemen on Tampa could crack that top 6 for the Toronto Maple Leafs? Like, I want to hear that, but I still think that, Florida's going to win the series. And I don't think it's even a 7-game series.
Big playoff series for Jake McCabe. I feel like he's been one guy we talked about a lot this year. Like he's a guy I think who can move the puck pretty well, and he doesn't shy away from any physicality. I think Jake McCabe is going to be someone who, if Florida gets to him early, like we've heard Paul Maurice talk. I mean, all the behind the scenes shows, like run them to the fucking wall because when it comes to Game 6, Game 7, they're going to be dead. So Jake McCabe, I would think is going to be a guy that the Panthers, put it in his corner and try to get to him early, and we'll see how he responds. I think he's going to be I don't know about like X factor is the word, but he's a guy you look for a big series on their back end, I would say.
And so I've seen this. Hold on, who asked me this question in the chat? So Puck Talk CS is asking Johnny where I would rank the Leafs 6 defensemen compared to the remaining playoff teams. Well, look, I think they're better than Edmonton's 6.
Better than Edmonton. I'd even say better than Dallas.
Probably deeper than Dallas's 6.
Yeah.
Let's see. I think Carolina's they've got a pretty damn good 6. They're no better or no worse than Carolina. I think
even Washington's is pretty good.
Yeah, Washington's is as good. Like, theirs is good. Florida's is very good.
You see, by the
especially
way, with Washington, Spencer Carberry after their clinching game, had like a nice little I don't know, like what would the word be? I guess credit. Like he was talking about guys who had a great series, and he was like, one fucking guy in here who had a great series that went underrated. TVR, Trevor Van Riemsdyk, and the whole
say it
room.
on
Like, yeah.
I say it on the show
That's why
all
I
the
was telling you.
time.
That's why I was telling you.
Listen, Trevor Van Riemsdyk is probably one of the most underappreciated players in the last 10 years in the National Hockey League.
Yeah.
Ask every goalie who's played for him in front of him. They will all tell you he's the guy they want on the ice because of how just how consistent and he is and predictable he is. Like, so
would you take Toronto's blue line over Winnipeg's? I feel like that's as close as it gets.
That's the thing though, Johnny. Like at this time of year, I'd say Winnipeg's blue line is more dynamic with Morrissey and Pionk. Listen, their back end is pretty good too. Like I'm looking at it right now.
Big boys back there, big physical.
You've got a good mix of a couple of guys who move the puck and a couple of guys who can lean on you. Look, you're in the second round of the NHL playoffs, right?
Yeah.
All these teams are built well. Now
I'm taking the Leafs third pair over Winnipeg's though.
Yeah, I agree. I'm taking them too. And I also look at, listen, Vegas's decor sort of, they stand out. Look, like I'd say they probably are, just from a personnel standpoint, like, but again, like when you get Ekblad back and you have that Forsling, Ekblad, Jones, like, like it's a pretty good group back there too. I think when it comes to Colorado, like I think my only concern ever with Colorado's back, decor is they're just, a little bit undersized, maybe. I don't know. Girard is a little undersized. I love the way Manson, Makar, Taves, like it's a good group too. I think Lindgren's been quietly pretty solid for them.
Yeah.
So
he's fitted well.
I think he's done a nice job. So it's a good question you're asking me, sports talk or puck talk. I'm sorry. But I don't think there's a team left that has a weak spot on their back end. Like, I think they're all built pretty nicely.
I don't know. Ilya Lyubushkin had a rough game last night for Dallas.
Well, I'm sorry. All the teams that have advanced into the second round. Dallas has not advanced into the second round yet. What I would say about that. What about Sam is asking about the back end of the Blues? Well, look, they haven't. The Blues are down 3-2, right? So, but again, like it's a well-built. You don't get through a round of the playoffs without a good decor. You need good goaltending. You need a good decor. Listen, Edmonton continues to defy logic, but I don't know if that's so much Edmonton or if that was the fact that LA just. That was an epic level meltdown by the LA Kings, and I know we were going to start with the Toronto. We're talking about Toronto series, and then we went off on a tangent. But
I have one more thought on the Senators versus Leafs, because we spent obviously most time talking about the Leafs and not the Sens. But watching that game, I don't know if he necessarily got a lot accomplished in that game, but someone who I noticed every shift he was out there was Tim Stützle. Like, I think him getting the playoff experience, he put up a couple points. Like he produced, I think he had 5 points in the series. But every shift he was out there, he was making shit happen. He made one move late in that third period. I think when they were down 2-1, he cut to the inside, tries to dish it backdoor instead of shooting it. That's something he'll learn from come playoff time. You got to put that puck on net. And then he had another one where he beats his guy wide. I forgot who the defender was, and then actually gets Stolarz in the shoulder. He tried to put it up short side high.
Yeah,
he made so many good plays last night. Like Tim Stützle is a guy that he's a young kid, talented kid. Was in that 2020 draft, so he's only been in the NHL for 5. This is his fifth season, and he's 23 years old. Like, I think he's going to be if he's not considered it already, he's going to be a superstar. Like, I think that's going to be so big for his development going forward, just having a little playoff experience under his belt.
Yeah, listen, you gotta lose a little before you win, and I think this was a good opportunity for for Ottawa to get their feet wet, because we
Yeah.
know what it's been. It's been expectations and, coaches getting fired for the last number of years in Ottawa. And now they can finally draw on a little bit of experience next year, if they're able to get themselves back into this situation.
Yeah, I was going to say too, Vic, my team lost 58 years in a row. When does the winning start? Yeah. And like I tweeted this morning, we should all gather and laugh at the LA Kings. And Jeremiah was like, we shouldn't laugh at them. It makes teams tougher. Well,
not losing 4 years in a row.
Yeah. Every
fashion.
Tell that to every team that loses in the fucking first round that they're tougher. Great. We got tougher, but guess what? Still no cups to show for it, So
I don't put LA the way that they melted down this year. Like I don't put LA necessarily
not
in
a
that
learning
category.
experience. Yeah.
That was at this point, you have to really look at your core, you have to look at your GM, you have to look at your coach. Again, we'll get into LA when we talk about that game, but
it's hard not to talk about it right off the bat.
It's just like disgusting, honestly. I mean, hey, listen, I owe an apology to every Oilers fan who said Oilers in 6. I was wrong. I'm sorry. I guess I underestimated how bad the LA Kings could be. I don't think that the Edmonton Oilers, even last night, how many odd man rushes did they give up all night last night?
The Oilers?
Yeah.
It must have been 15. Honestly, are we talking? We got to save this. We can't get into it right now. We can't. We got to save it. Or do you want to just do this game and then we'll move on to the other games?
Go.
Go?
Go.
All right. Listen, snaps to Calvin Pickard, first of all. By far his best game in the series. He comes in, he wins 4 straight. And to your point, Colby, I must have counted at least on my hands 8 odd man rushes, breakaways, 2-on-1s, a fucking 2-on-0, a 3/4 ice 2-on-0 that Pickard makes the save, even though a pass wasn't made. Like the fact that Edmonton came out and won the series. Like we had Tyler on. I asked Tyler, do the Kings win in 5 or 6? And he laughed at me basically and said like the Oilers are going to win, and I didn't believe him. But
yeah, I agree. Tyler called game 6. I mean, he did. Like again, I went on Oilers Nation the other day, and like I said, this team does not. I still don't feel good about that team. Like I just don't. Look at you can't give up those types of chances and those types of offense. But Vegas is going to be a much tougher opponent than the LA Kings. Mm-hmm. Much tougher opponent.
I was just going to do one of our reads because, as everyone can assume by now, our OutWest Worst Team of the Week is, in fact, the Los Angeles Kings. So a quick word from our sponsor, OutWest. Hoodie season's coming to an end, and that means the fellas at OutWest are running a closeout sale on the last of our hoodie stock for the season. So now through May 1st, head over to the site and snag yours for just $59. That's a 30% discount. Quantities are limited and available on a first-come, first-served basis, so grab yours before your color and size sell out for the year. This was an easy choice, right? Like we do OutWest Worst Team of the Week every week. And I got to be honest, like from where the hockey world was and where everyone in media talking about the LA Kings was a week ago, I don't know if I've seen a complete 180 like I've seen happen with this series. Because listen, we all believe that Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl can drag them back in. But if you were to sit there and say that the Oilers were going to win 4 straight games and the Kings would totally look like a shadow of themselves for the rest of that series, nobody would have believed it. We were sitting here a week ago saying this is going to be a sweep. The Kings are dominant. The Oilers have a fucking dumpster fire of a decor. Like this is nuts. I can't believe we're actually sitting here and not talking about an LA Kings series victory. I can't from a week ago.
The question too becomes, like, where do they go? Like, okay, if Jim Hiller keeps his job, then the guy has blackmail on Rob Blake. But my question for you is does Rob Blake keep his job?
No way.
Rob Blake took over in 2017. Okay. How many playoff series have they won, Vic?
0, right? Isn't it 0?
Since 2017. It's bad. Okay. It's bad. I mean, the past 10 seasons since 2016. So this goes back even a year early.
Is it not 0?
Made the playoffs 6 times and they've won 0 series wins.
Yeah.
Okay. 0. So how does Rob Blake continue to keep his job? Goaltending became a problem in the playoffs for them. Coaching was a problem. And look, how me go to the minutes from last night. I've been
Mhm.
harping on this and harping on this.
Victor said they haven't won a playoff series since they won the Cup in 2014, and M in the chat also just said that too. So thanks for that.
Turcotte played 7 minutes last night. Hellenius 7 minutes. Malott 7 minutes.
Well, I mean, listen, those guys probably didn't touch the ice in the third period when you're down 2 goals.
My point, though, Johnny, is you can't. First off, those guys only played like a minute and a half in other games. You can't run your top players into the ground night after night in a playoff series. You've got to spread the love a little bit. How much juice did LA have in the tank in the third period last night?
Listen, I thought they actually made a decent push. I did.
Second half of the game, I should say, because the second period is where it got out of control for them.
Yeah, but also the goals that Edmonton were scoring, they were like Kemper was terrible last night.
Terrible.
He was terrible. Like, was it the 5th goal, like the Trent Frederick goal? It's like a 3-on-1. I think it's Doughty that slides. It might have been Connor Brown who makes the backdoor pass, but like that was a squeaker. The 4th goal, squeaker. Like these were goals that should have been stopped. Like Pickard was making those saves.
Yeah. Well, and they got, Edmonton had depth scoring last night. Frederick gets on the board. Connor Brown, I think he had 2 assists last night.
Mm-hmm. Connor Brown was everywhere in that game.
He had 1 and 1. He gets the empty netter. So you got a little bit of help. Podkolzin's on the board. Janmark's on the board. Your big dogs.
I don't know if did McDavid have a point last night?
He did. He had the assist on the Nugent Hopkins goal that he threw it through the seam.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do we have any Edmonton
there's
people?
2
Let
games,
me ask.
Colby, where
Let me ask.
Games where Draisaitl and McDavid combined for, I think, 1 point, and Edmonton finds a way to win those games.
Let me ask people in the chat that are especially our Edmonton people. Do you guys, other than the fact that you're obviously going to always be a fan and be optimistic and root for your team, like, are you satisfied with how they won? Even though listen, at the end of the day in playoffs,
I don't think you care.
But like, do you feel confident against Vegas that the way that your team is playing, you can win? I mean, I guess like you'd feel confident because you have Connor McDavid and Draisaitl, but do you
like time Vegas was playing their best?
Yeah, I mean, I guess you can make that argument, but Jack Eichel started to really find
his turned it on for the last 2 games.
Late in that, the last 2 games of the series, the biggest.
Look at Edmonton in the last 4 games.
Yeah, but they still struggled defensively. They really did. They still give up too many odd man rushes. Like, can you give up 15 odd man rushes to the LA Kings? I don't know.
You mean Vegas?
Ekholm won't get back until potentially if they make it to probably the finals. So you don't have him. But
honestly, I would make the argument if I'm an Oilers fan right now, I'm feeling better about our team than if I'm a Vegas fan feeling about their team. Not having to do with the opponent, like just about your own team and how they finished their series. Like Vegas was in a dogfight with Minnesota the entire way, and I don't think anyone would have given Minnesota a standing chance going into that series. The Oilers were kind of the underdog going into this one.
But I think we forget Minnesota was a different team the first bit of the season with Kaprizov, right?
Ice Clubs made a great point. Considering Vegas let Minnesota's top line dominate, what can McDavid and Dry do?
Right.
Good point. It's a good point. Kirill Kaprizov.
How did they dominate enough to win the series? They only won 2 games.
All right, but still, like,
I'm just saying, you only won 2 games. How dominant could you be if you only won 2 of 6 games?
Well, I mean, those 2 players were dominant. You can't.
I get it, but I'm just saying.
But like, that.
Obviously, not dominant enough.
Yeah, and they got great goaltending, so that's the one thing.
And I don't even think Hill had a great series.
No, I'm saying Minnesota did. Minnesota got great goaltending.
Yeah. So obviously, the end of storied career, first ballot Hall of Famer Marc-Andre Fleury. Thought it was cool. Everybody stayed on the ice. He took a lap.
He didn't really stay out that long though. I thought he'd do a little bit more of like a.
Listen, I don't think he wants to make it about him and a loss. It's just not.
Yeah,
it's not his style. Listen, I was so fortunate. I got to actually call his 500th win. In Montreal, which was really cool.
Yeah.
I was working for Chicago when he got
Were
that.
You between the benches?
No, I was in the booth that night doing TV. And the whole Bell Center was cheering for him the last 2-3 minutes of the game, which was pretty cool. So listen, I never played with Flower, but just being around him from a working capacity with the Blackhawks, I mean, he was everything you heard about him and more. They say don't meet your heroes, don't meet your idols unless it's Marc-Andre Fleury. He's an awesome guy. So, we'll maybe we can get him on the show this summer. Maybe we get him for a summer episode.
Well, we actually know the Minnesota people, so maybe they could help.
That's true. So, anything else to say about, listen, looking at LA, just final thoughts here on LA, like Kuzmenko's a UFA, Jeannot's a UFA, Trevor Lewis is a UFA, and Gavrikov is a UFA. Like, you got 17 guys coming back under contract. Laferriere is an RFA, but that gets done. That's not an issue. And listen, Gavrikov played well for LA, which is, he ended up being a pretty good piece for them. Listen, I would expect them to part ways with Jim Hiller in the next 36 hours because they want to get into the ring right away.
Yeah, Kopitar has 1 year left. I saw someone ask that in the chat. Who was that?
I wonder if. Let me just say this: is David Carl potentially a fit for the LA Kings? You'd inherit a pretty good team. Obviously not a team good enough to win in the playoffs, but I don't know. Maybe if Rob Blake were to get, I don't think he would take that job.
I don't know. Yeah.
If Rob Blake
is a better fit in Anaheim. I think he's a better fit in Anaheim.
Yeah, but why? But like you said that, and I've told you why. Having like we've talked about that. So I don't know. Like I'd look at that roster and I'd go, okay, you have Byfield, you have Fiala, like you have some guys under contract that are pretty good players. Like you need maybe make a couple of changes.
Yeah,
might be interesting. It's not that far from Denver, so the move's not as big. I don't know.
Tangent. Ice Club said, "Can we get some Morning Cup of Hockey merch? Make it happen, fellas." That's actually being discussed. So just wanted to address that quick. Hoping to have that figured out
next season. We'll have it for next season. It's not going to happen this season, but we've actually been in meetings about having our show have like a different look, different music, different backgrounds, all that kind of stuff, switching to a higher end platform that has more video capabilities. So
my bed is in the picture.
These are all conversations that we're having right now with the company, and these are all things that are in the works.
See what Catherine said
for next season. No, I didn't see what she said.
She said, "Let's get a Tuscan shirt."
Morning Cup of Hockey with Tuscan right on it. Yeah, Jesus.
Yeah.
So let's keep moving along here. Do you have a Vegas Edmonton prediction? Are you ready to make that?
I'm not ready to make that now.
Okay.
Do you have one?
I think Vegas wins in 6. Vegas wins. I'm not going to jump on the Oiler bandwagon now. Like I've been off the bandwagon this year. I'm not flipping. Nothing they did in round 1, even though they won, makes me feel confident that they can beat Vegas. But hey, if they rub my nose in it, I won't be mad. Who doesn't like watching McDavid play?
Yeah, no, sorry, I got distracted by a comment in the chat. It's very kind.
You get distracted easily. All right, let's talk about Colorado and Dallas, because I saw somebody already asking us in the chat if we think Jared Bednar gets the axe if they lose this series. I don't foresee that happening at all.
Did you see Biz's question to McKinnon last night after the game?
I did. Yeah, I did.
Oh my God, that was hilarious. Like, just go with it, Nate. Just go with it. Biz asked, like, what he thought of the Jared Bednar impersonator behind the bench, and Nate was like, "I don't care. We lost 6-2."
Yeah, that's who he is. You know, that's who he is. So
funny.
He's he's laser focused. He's on to the next game. He's got that sort of Bill Belichick. We're on to Cincinnati. Like we're not, we're on to game 7. They're not looking at anything. They're not resting on anything right now. So. What did you think of that game last night? What stood out to you?
Well, I thought Colorado dominated for the most part. Then they fell asleep a little bit in the second period. I mean, if you're an NHL script writer, the way that second period went, it's like, oh my God, Mikko Rantanen just put up 4 points. He scored the go-ahead goal. He's going to be the one to take down Colorado after being traded from them. Like, it was a perfect way to script it. third period comes out, and if there's one team, listen, I watch, the team that I stay up to watch for late at night for the most part is Colorado Avalanche. If there's one team that I'm live betting down 1 at home going into the third, it's them all year. They were 150 last night going into the third. I took it. And again, like they put the pressure on Dallas. There was one call that was interesting too. The Dallas bench was giving Cale Makar a lot of shit. They didn't score on the power play, but they've been criticizing Makar for diving. Yeah, what about the dive by Makar? Exactly. What about the dive by Makar and the interference penalty? Thoughts from Brandon Whitley, I'm assuming.
Do we have the video?
I don't know if we have the video. But there's been a lot of diving in this series, I think, both sides. Like, I saw a really funny tweet last night, actually, that said, and I saw a lot of people sharing it too. It was like, Jamie Benn expected to have a hearing for almost hitting Josh Manson in the face with or Josh Manson expecting to have a hearing for almost high sticking Jamie Benn in the face. Like, that was a really funny tweet because, listen, Ben was diving. There was another, I forgot who else on Dallas dove in the game before. But listen, guys are trying to draw penalties. This is what Makar got for interference on Granlund. Definitely exaggerated a little bit. Granlund does get in his space,
sure, that's a pick, but that's not a little embellishment.
It's embellishment. For sure.
That's a major embellishment. But I see that happening all over the playoffs this year.
Yeah, like this series for the most part, though, it's been these two teams that I've seen it the most.
It's until it gets called, guys are going to keep doing it, right? Yeah. It just takes like one or two calls like that in a series where it makes you think twice about it. But
who was the player we talked about yesterday that got an embellishment call and was actually bleeding? I forgot. It was someone in St. Louis and Winnipeg. I forgot who it was.
Yeah, that's right. I do remember talking about that.
Yeah. Sorry, keep going with your thought.
No, I think the refs, again, I think early in round 2, I bet you'll see one or two embellishments called. And I think at that point, everybody will chill out with the diving because it's a bad look. I mean, for Makar, like, again,
also late in the game, it was like 5 minutes left in the third.
And you sell it, and you get it, and it's a game changer. But it was Sundqvist. Everybody's letting us know in the chat that it was Oscar Sundqvist. So, what did you think of the way the goaltenders played last night? I mean, Jake Ottinger had some unlucky bounces last night, but I didn't love Blackwood last night.
Yeah, no, neither really was strong. Vic is showing the game-winning goal, which was obviously, I mean, I don't know if that's the goaltender's fault. That's just fucking unlucky. Sam Steele goes to.
I don't see how you can blame it on the goaltender at all.
No way. No way.
I don't know if it's the goaltender's fault. It was not the goaltender's fault. Yeah. I mean, that's as bad a bounce as you could possibly catch.
That was insane. But Colby, speaking of goaltenders, actually, this takes us into our crispy hot take for the day. So time now for the crispy hot take presented by the Ninja Crispy 4-in-1 portable glass air fryer.
Meet the first of its kind, the Ninja Crispy portable cooking system. The power of a full-sized air fryer in the palm of your hand, so you can cook big or small batches. Just prep it, crisp it, serve it, and store it all in one.
It's an all-in-one system that includes a 4-quart, 6-cup Tupperware glass container and 2 storage lids. The Ninja Crispy is thermal shock resistant and can go from a frozen to crispy in minutes. With the Crispy Power Pod, you get the power of a full-size air fryer in the palm of your hands. The 4-quart container fits 4 pounds of chicken or veggies. You can cook a personal-sized meal in 7 minutes in the 6-cup container. With Max Crisp, bake, air fry, and re-crisp with the Ninja Crispy. You can prep, cook, and store anything from crispy favorites to one-dish meals. So visit their website in the link in the description and stay tuned for a chance to win a free Ninja Crispy for one of our lucky fans. And today's Ninja Crispy hot take, it's not what everybody thinks. It's honestly, the goaltending fucking sucks. Like, you look at the goalies' numbers in the playoffs right now, there aren't many that are like really standing on their heads. Freddie Anderson.
Not consistently.
Not consistently. And we talk about this goalie's making this much money. This goalie's getting paid that much money. This goalie wants to reset the market. Well, all the top goalies that we're watching and that we praise all regular season long haven't really been doing it in the playoffs. I'll put aside Gustafsson, Logan Thompson, and Anderson, say what you want. I don't know if he was really.
Let me ask you, on this list,
who's been the best goalie?
Put that list, Vic, back up. Chat, weigh in here for those of you who are live with us right now. On this list,
like, who's impressed me most?
Who, based on the way they played in round 1, who do you want starting for you in round 2? on this list? Who do you think has been the best and most consistent goaltender on this list? Because Johnny, I'll let you go first. Who do you take?
Can their team still be, or is it okay if the team's eliminated?
Well, I mean, you're going to pick a goalie that lost their series.
Oh, it was Jacob Markstrom. He was
why? Because he had a good overtime and because he played it. You know, I mean,
he was the reason that they were in any game.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm taking Logan Thompson. I think that's the guy I'm going with. Logan.
Based
Thompson.
on first round performance, Markstrom was the reason that the Devils were remotely competitive.
The reason that the Devils are still playing in round 2, or they're not playing.
That's not what you fucking asked me. Well,
I'm just wondering. Like, you're picking a guy who lost. All right, that's fair. If that's who you want, I'm not picking a guy who lost.
You said based on a first round performance.
I assumed you would have picked from a team that won, but all right, that's fine. You're taking Markstrom. I'm taking Logan Thompson.
All right.
That's your hot take.
I don't know. I just don't know how you can give me shit on that. Like,
well, no, I'm just saying. I would have thought you would have taken a guy.
Yeah, because Thompson played against Montreal.
Okay, so we'll see how he looks in round 2 now. So you didn't think Montreal was a real playoff opponent?
No, they were, but like, I think Markstrom had a much bigger task at hand than Logan Thompson did. Markstrom was playing with a depleted blue line in front of him in Carolina on the road, like one of the toughest teams to play. Oh, here comes J Rock. Good comment, honestly. Damn it. I'm gonna lose this battle every time. Closet
He's not wrong. You are a Devils fan. I mean, we can admit that you are a Devils fan.
Yeah, I don't know. Just based on first round performance, I would say Markstrom.
And I see some people saying playoff Bob, like Dennis Lopez said playoff Bob. Look, I thought Bob had some good stretches where was tilted in Tampa's favor, and they had some pretty big pushes. But I ultimately I don't think Bob had an A series. Like, it's probably a B series, B+ series. I think Bob still has another level he could get himself to.
Also, just like looking at numbers too, Darcy Kemper actually has the most saves of any goalie in the first round, 184 saves. But his numbers, he finished with a .889 and 3.74 goals against.
I don't know how much of a hot take that was, though. I feel like a hot take would have been that you thought somebody, like, I saw someone say hot take, the Leafs are going to sweep Florida in 4 games. That would be
that's just stupid.
That would just be an absurd hot take.
Yeah, that's just stupid. If that happens, if the Leafs sweep the Panthers, name your price. Not money though. I can't do money. Name your price like a day or a bet.
All right, you have to get a Devils tattoo on your tramp stamp.
Well, and okay. And J-Rock saying no one taking Hellebuck just makes me so happy. That was the question. Like, based on the first round performance, who are you taking? But again, like, the conversation starts. The conversation is because we talk about Swayman, we talk about Hellebuck, all these goalies that are making this money now. That's saying top tier goaltending money. But come playoff time, it doesn't really look like it's mattering that much, right?
Teams seem to be outscoring their problem. You know, they seem to be outscoring their problem. Steve Levy was talking about it last night. It hasn't been. I think he set up like the 41 games, like 30 of them have been by more than 1 goal, like the difference at the end of the game. So it's not like we've had tons and tons of 1-goal games. So, why don't you read it out loud, Johnny?
What I'm laughing at?
Yeah, whatever you're laughing at. Yeah.
Chad Cole. I can't give money. How about betting permanent tattoos that cost money? Haha.
I mean, listen, if we're getting Johnny permanent tattoos, I'm happy to pay for them, especially if they're Devils tattoos or Islanders, the teams that he actually loves. Then, you know, I'm happy. Yeah, exactly. Steve Rosen said Colby will sponsor the tattoos, which is accurate. I will sponsor the tattoos. So, All right, Johnny, what do you think is going to happen in Game 7 of the Avalanche Stars series?
Well, first off, I think no matter what, Miro Heiskanen plays. Right?
So, like, if he's not healthy, he plays?
I mean, he's got to be somewhat ready. It's a do-or-die game. I think you're throwing him in there. Like, even just to run the power play if he can. Like, not having Heiskanen on the power play and like, late in the game on the 6-on-5, no discredit to Thomas Harley. He's a great defenseman. But, like, he's not Miro Heiskanen, right? Especially the way he walks the blue line. So, like, if you can find a way to just sneak Heiskanen, even if he plays 10 minutes, like, why not have him out there? I think in a do-or-die game, in a Game 7, they haven't been forced to do it because they haven't trailed in the series in a significant situation. They were
Would
down
you
1-0
go?
and
Would you
that's
go
it.
11-7 and basically just keep him for power play and for the last few minutes of the game? Is that kind of where you're hinting?
Well, I gotta figure out a forward who I'd take out.
I mean, you could
Who would
take
you
out
Oscar back.
or Blackwell.
Yeah. I don't know if
How
you're taking
much-
out Blackwell, but
I mean, he did have the game winner for Colorado last night, right?
yeah, but he also had the overtime winner in game 2.
Was it 2? Yeah, 1, 2.
Yeah.
I guess it would have been 2.
But I think
do we know
just said
has Hayes,
Petrovic sucks. Hurt Haskins probably better.
no. It depends. Has Heiskanen taken any contact yet?
I don't believe so.
It's hard to throw a guy into a National League hockey game that has not been able to take contact. It's pretty challenging. And, obviously there's not a lot of practice time. But, I don't know. We'll see what happens.
I'd be shocked if he doesn't play. Oh, yeah. Oh, Bischel too. Vic just said, did Bischel come back? I saw him get fucked up. Yeah, he came back in the game. Bischel got fucking, oh my God. Who tweeted it? Someone tweeted, I can't believe they're letting Bischel play. Because he couldn't even get off the ice on his own last night. He got helped off the ice by trainers last night. He looked like he couldn't be out there, and he came back and played. That was pretty nuts. Nickel City Grunge. What about Robertson? I haven't heard any updates on Robertson. Didn't they say
they had an update yesterday. They said he's no longer week to week. He's day to day now.
Day to day?
Yeah.
I thought he was out for the series though before it started.
Yeah, I mean, listen, day to day. The series only has how many more days?
True. 1 day.
Yeah. Exactly. You're talking about another 48 hours. So he's probably out for the series, even if he is day to day. So, you get Heiskanen in and you think no matter what. I mean, listen, of course the guy wants to play. It really just depends on, is he going to get hurt worse? How close is he? I mean, that we have no idea. So I'm not going to join you in that.
Yeah, I do think Colorado wins though. You asked me for a thought. I think Colorado finds a way to win.
You think they find a way to go on the road and win in Dallas? Okay. All right.
I do think. Let me look one thing up. I think Jake Ottinger has pretty good Game 7 numbers.
Yeah, well, and I think that's the thing is, I think some of it's going to come down to how does Blackwood play in Game 7? Does he rebound from last night, even though he gets the win, but he didn't play very well?
Wait, I also saw a stat last night from Adrian Dater that said Avs are 0-6 in their last 6 Game 7s. Pete DeBoer is 8-0 in Game 7s all time, including 3-0 against the Avs. That's a pretty crazy stat.
Okay. Yeah. Will they get over the hump? Look, I picked Colorado to win the Stanley Cup this year. I don't feel nearly as good about that at this point. We don't have a show tomorrow, so I guess we need to make a pick. Make our picks right now. Geez, I think I'm going with Dallas. I think Dallas goes home and gets the win. Dude.
No backbone on Colby Cohen. Won't stick with his original pick.
I mean, listen, my picks have flown right out the window. I mean, I picked LA to win the series. I picked Tampa to win their series. I mean, I've been falling on my face so far on this one. I mean, I've had good nights individually picking games, but I just didn't take a wide enough view on some of these things clearly, looking at some of these teams. But yeah, I think Dallas goes home and gets it done. I think they rebound. I think, with the way Rantanen just is continuing to wake up, I hope I'm wrong. I want to see Landeskog win a Stanley Cup this year. I mean, that story would be incredible, especially the way he's contributing to his team. So, but I think Dallas wins the series. I think they go home and they win the series.
Tommy has said every day, in quotes, Dallas is so cooked, Johnny Lazarus. Did I say that? I don't remember saying that.
Yeah.
Maybe after game one, I probably said that actually.
You definitely said that. That seems like a total Johnny overreaction.
After game one, yeah, that's fair. Vic, can you look up Jake Ottinger's Game 7 stats? Possibly.
All right. So as you're doing that, we can circle back to that. We do obviously today is Friday, our last show of the week. Make sure you like this episode while you're here. Make sure you subscribe to the Daily Faceoff YouTube page as well. Both of those things can be true at the same time. I'm going to ask you, I know you've been riding St. Louis since before the playoffs. Down
Mhm.
3-2, going home for game 6. Do you think they push it to game 7? And do you think that they ultimately can win the next 2 and win the series?
I have all the confidence in the world that St. Louis will push it to game 7. In fact, that is our bet of the night. If you want to just get to that quick, we can do our bet 365. Only one game tonight, so may as well just knock out our bet 365 bet of the night. So if you want to get in on the action for Stanley Cup playoffs at bet 365, they've got you from game props, player props, totals, and the money line. You can even bet on futures like series winners, conference champions, and the Stanley Cup champions, and much, much more. So whatever your bet is, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app and get in on the game. An official partner of the Stanley Cup playoffs. And remember, you must be 19 or older. No Mark Scheifele. He didn't travel with the team. Connor Hellebuck has not looked good in St. Louis. I like the Blues with no doubts in tonight's game. Game 7 will be a different story. It's obviously been very tough to win that building. The home team's won every game in this series. But again, like, big game, Binnington, Hellebuck. Who are you taking in a game 7? Do or die?
I mean, I think we know what Binnington does in these situations, but I don't think it's going to get to 7. I think the Jets are going to take care of business. I think they're going to take care of business in St. Louis tonight, because you're right. I think if it gets to a game 7, it's big time trouble for the Winnipeg Jets. And then all this goodwill Scott Arniel bought with this season goes right back to, same old Winnipeg Jets out in the first round.
Well, Miller Time said 37 is due. Sorry, y'all, but like, how many times have we said in the playoffs Connor Hellebuck's due and he hasn't done? Right?
I just wonder who's going to step up. I mean, with Scheifele out, Nemestikov, who played really well, by the way, the last couple of games, like, was all over the puck. Now Lowry moves up.
Velarde back. He played last game.
What'd you say?
Velarde back. Played last game.
I mean, which is obviously, you add one, subtract one.
Yeah.
That pushes Perfetti back into getting some better matchups. Yeah, listen, that Scheifele thing really pushes their lineup around, but I think they rally around it. I really do. I think it's a rallying cry. I think they take care of business on the road. I think Hellebuck plays well. I think I don't think this thing gets to 7, but tough not having Scheifele. It is from two hits there was no problem with either of those hits. I wonder what the injury is. I wonder if it's head. I wonder if it's ribs. Is it shoulder? Like, I'm kind of curious what he might be dealing with.
Yeah, I don't know. I again, like Ardiel said, not a doctor, right? But yeah, listen, I think the Blues have just looked like a much different team at home in this series. And you got to take into account that the home team's won every game, right?
Yeah. Yep. That's how it goes until sometimes they don't,
Vic also said Ottinger is 1-1 in game 7s with a .956 save percentage. I thought he's played in more than 2. So I guess, excuse me, I thought he played in like at least 4, but that's my bad. I guess he played in the one against Calgary a few years ago where they lost, and then they beat Vegas last year. That would have been 2 game 7s. The Calgary one was the one where Johnny Gaudreau had that goal in overtime on Ottinger, where he was lights out in that game. And then, last year was Vegas. Wait, Vic, are you saying Colorado or are you saying Dallas? Wait, they played Seattle in game 7?
Johnny, you gotta remember here. We got people who are audio only. You got to improve your inner dialogue, okay?
No, I know, but
you either got to promote it a little more confidently or keep it to yourself, okay?
I guess
this
little Seattle in game 7.
This little intermediate thing where you're thinking in your own brain, but you're talking out loud and you're kind of mumbling. It doesn't work for the audience.
Well, that stat's got to be run then, because didn't they play Vegas in 7 last year? They did. They beat Vegas in a game 7. Did they not?
I don't know, Vic. You need to come back from vacation, buddy. I know you were out drinking last night at Greta Bar with Zach, and you guys were taking body shots off of each other, celebrating that win.
The Leafs won and Vic won last night.
Oh, jeez. All right, Johnny. So you're taking St. Louis to get it to 7, and then you're taking St. Louis in 7?
I'm sticking with it. Yeah, I took St. Louis in the series. I'm sticking with it.
I'm sticking with Winnipeg. Gonna take this in 6. You think Colorado's going to win. I
Mhm.
unfortunately have a feeling Dallas gets it done on home ice. Those are the only two left here the next 2 days.
Brandon
Here's
Whitley
some-
corrected me. They beat Colorado in 6.
So here's something that I want to say to you guys.
yeah.
We're going to count on you guys for this. We are obviously staring down the end of the first round. We're going to get to a point here where there's only 2 games on a night. Maybe even some nights there's going to be 1, depending on how the NHL loves to spread out 2 days between games. And so there is going to start to be days that are, slower days in the next, 10 days here. And so something that we'd like from all you guys is when the show ends today, we would like you guys to go to the YouTube feed and leave comments about people you are interested in hearing from as we move into round 2 and 3 of the playoffs and even into the Stanley Cup Finals, because there's going to be days, again, where there might not be a game for 2 days during the Stanley Cup Finals, right? When they're doing the travel days, there's 2 days in between. So if you guys can give us an idea of some topics that you guys are interested in or some guests that you guys are really interested in, I know that there's some people that Jonny and I have been talking to. We'll get Brant to come back on and talk about, some of the different ways that his group has been deploying, all the different programs and with the numbers and things. Hold on, Jonny, put your head down. I'm talking. Put your hand down. All the numbers and different things. We'll get that out and see how that's being used in the playoffs. I see what you guys are saying in the chat. You want Calvin DeHaan. I believe that's something Jonny has been working on. But again, the chat doesn't live on. We need you guys to go to the actual YouTube comments. That way we can get a running list of things in the comments on today's episode. Okay. And then we can have Vic. He will either screenshot it. He will take all that stuff down. And then we will make sure that we keep that in mind as we start looking to reach out to people here for the next couple of weeks and say, hey, next week, would you love to have this guy? We'd love to have you on during a slow day or when there's no game or whatever. So we're going to ask you guys to help us with that, because obviously we want to bring people on that you guys are interested in. Now, again, I already see people saying, get Tkachuk, get Paul Maurice. Look, you got to be realistic about it. We're not going to ask Paul Maurice during the playoffs to come on our show.
I might ask Calvin though.
You're welcome to ask Calvin. What are you talking, Calvin Picard?
Yeah, I think he'd maybe do it.
I highly doubt with him starting right now that
he came on for game 1 of the Cup final last year.
Was he the starter in the Cup last year? No.
Yeah,
okay. So again, you guys can throw some people in the comment section once this YouTube, once the live stream is done. There's an opportunity to comment. So put them all in there. We are going to work through those lists of people, keep those, on our ideas for who we want to get. Again, I know, Tommy, you think that you actually produced the show, but we're giving you guys all an opportunity to weigh in on who you want to hear from and what are some of the topics you guys want to hear from. So, and I see Anthony in the chat is asking, Colby, do you coach out of New Jersey? I am from Middletown. I'm in Middletown all the time. I was one of the coaches for the junior team, the Titans in Middletown this year. And I've helped, with that organization here the last couple of years. So too far of a drive for me, I can tell you that much, but, that's lo and behold, I do go down there to answer that question. So Jonny, now you can say what it is that you wanted to say when you were raising your hand like an idiot.
Like a respectable adult that I am. But I was going to say, if you don't even want specific people,
what respectable adult raises their hand?
That's a good point. Okay, so Trevor Zegras is a good one. I could try to reach out to him, but what I was going to add to that was if you want us to focus on a certain team, I know we'll probably do a day where we talk about the Rangers and what they're going to look like now with Mike Sullivan and roster moves and all that stuff. If you guys have fans of, or if you're a fan of a certain team, I know we have a lot of Columbus fans in here, we can talk about them a little bit, and certain teams to focus on, we can do that as well when there's 2 days in a row of no games, right? We're not going to just sit here and talk about the same playoff matchups for 2 straight days, right? So, I know we have a lot of different fan bases in our chat. So if you want to hear about certain teams and our thoughts on them, you can also put just a team that you want us to discuss. I think that's a fair enough addition to make to what you were saying.
Yep, no problem. And someone just called you a man-child with manners. Well, actually, not someone.
That's actually very kind.
You're not a man-child. You're a child, and you don't have manners because you show up late to meetings and you make people wait in meetings. So I would say that's a problem. So all right, we see the chat getting a little out of control. You know, all the comedians we have in the chat, which is great. So if you want to be heard and you want it to be etched in where we can go back and we can look at it once we're done with today's episode, leave comments on the YouTube stream. There is a draft lottery on Monday? There's a draft lottery. I think it's either Monday or Tuesday.
Is it? I thought it was later in the month.
I thought it was May 5th was the draft lottery.
Cinco de Mayo?
Somebody can chime in. Maybe Vic knows the answer to that. I think, May 5th is the draft lottery. So, yeah, seriously, Alex, my mistake. You're not wrong. You guys are, I'm asking you guys for serious opinions here, and I'm not getting much serious back. So, I do think next week after the draft lottery, we should try to get a prospect guy on. This way they can go through like who are the top 5, top 10 players and what are they to expect. There's going to be a lot of excited fan bases. I know like the Flyers and the Bruins and like teams that are not usually in the lottery. And then there's the usual suspects with San Jose and Chicago and Buffalo. And so we should get somebody on next week. Excuse me.
Chris Peters is pretty good too. He's great.
Yeah, we should get it. We should get a prospect guy on next week. I don't know who it will be, but we'll do that. Monday or Tuesday. Following the lottery, just to give people an idea who to get excited about. If you are a fan from one of those teams, we want to speak to the fans that our teams are out as well. So, obviously, like I know we have some Bruins fans in here. I know we have some Flyers fans in here. I know we have some Blackhawks fans in here. People that want to know like who are the guys, right? So with that, Johnny, I don't know if you have anything else you want to talk about before we say goodbye to everyone for the weekend.
Do you want me to have anything else or no?
Johnny, if you have something important to say, now would be a good time to do it.
I don't think I do. So okay. We're safe.
All right. So with that, we appreciate the support throughout this week. Our numbers were awesome on YouTube all week, which is, obviously a really important platform. I think a lot of the way Johnny and I are judged is based on the performance of YouTube. Obviously, downloads are really, really important too. So, again, get the downloads on, whether you're a Spotify user, whether you're a podcast, Apple Podcast user, get those downloads going. Those are also really important. Thought the chat gave us a lot of interesting things to talk about this week, especially when we had guests on. I think the chat, you guys added quite a bit to those conversations that we had. So we're always appreciative when you guys are bringing stuff like that to the table for us. Obviously, there are things that may not seem important to me, or they may seem important to Johnny, maybe not to you, or maybe they are to you. So that kind of stuff is really helpful for us. Make sure you give us a like on your way out the door today before this nice weekend. Hopefully you've got some nice weather where you are. It's nice here, but I think it's supposed to get kind of shitty for the rest of the weekend, which is a bummer, especially when you have little kids that you rely on going to the park every day with. So we hope everybody has a great weekend. We appreciate all the support. Like, comment in the YouTube. That is the big one for today. Wait for the stream to be over. Get to the YouTube. Leave your comments about who you want to hear from as we no longer have 4 games a night. And we start to have off days as we move into the second and the third round of the playoffs. Johnny, I hope you have a good weekend, pal. It was great to hear from your dad a little bit before the show today. And you know what I was kind of thinking we could do? We should pick the winner. And I guess this would be hard, but we should see who's winning after each round of the bracket challenge. And we should maybe see if that person wants to come into our pre-show meeting one day.
I thought you said that was when I suggested that was a big no-no.
When did you suggest that?
Last week. I was like, we should.
Yeah, well, of course, because it's your idea, so it's obviously a bad idea. But you didn't. Did you really suggest that?
Last week, I was like, we should. What?
Well,
I just said, like, I wish our chat could see what we're like before the show starts. Like,
yeah, but that's different than making it into a contest, Johnny. And just start opening the floodgates here. So we'll talk about that as we move along.
Colby,
here.
You said these are sacred. That's what Vic just said.
We'll talk about that as we move along here. Listen, we got to find a way to reward the people that are winning the bracket challenge.
I was gonna say too, like, maybe this is something we talk about off air, but I'm just gonna say it anyway. What if
we'll talk about it off air?
No. What if we had like a voicemail line and we could like get takes from our listeners and we could play like one take a day?
Leave comments in the YouTube chat.
I think those are funny.
Leave comments in the YouTube chat. We hope everybody has a great weekend. Johnny, stop blaming everything on your dad.
Someone
is enough.
Called me
all right?
Butters from South Park.
Enough is enough. Stop blaming everything on your dad. We got a chance to talk to him today. We got a chance to hear some of the real facts surrounding the things you like to blame on him. I'm glad we cleared that up. We hope everybody has a good weekend. We'll see everybody Monday morning.
What's up, hockey fans? If you enjoyed that video, then you need to be hitting the subscribe button right here at Daily Faceoff. Exclusive interviews and analysis from our hockey insider Frank Saravalli, fantasy updates from Brock Sagan, and a daily live show at noon Eastern, Monday through Friday. You don't want to miss any of the fantastic content, so hit that subscribe.